Hey guys, welcome back for another instructional video. Today by request from one of our ultimate dragons. They wanted me to kind of go into a little bit of detail about stroke mechanics, the pendulum stroke specifically, the reason why we do what we do, and what you should be able to expect when you're being your own coach. So, without further ado, let's talk a little bit about follow-through. Follow-through is not about following forward. It's about following through the cue ball. So, for example, just because you ended up going out here, that is not a good follow-through. My cue followed up. Well, that's not a good thing. And if I do one of these, that's not a good follow-through either. My cue followed down. So, follow-through is what's going to allow you to get more power with less effort. It's going to allow you to get more spin. It's going to allow you to be more accurate. Basically, everything that you're looking for, it's about having a good follow-through. And your cue has nothing to do with that, right? $10,000 cue doesn't fix a $10 stroke. So, some techniques that you might want to consider using for a good follow-through is seeing how still you can be. See, the cue is straight. If I'm just over here doing one-handed, right, and I keep my elbow up, now watch what happens with the cue. See how the cue dives? The elbow stays still, and the cue goes down. That's a follow-through. The hand goes up to the chest, the elbow stays still, and the cue goes down. So anything else like that, if the cue goes up, there's a good chance that you're probably dropping your elbow. If you're dropping your elbow, your tip goes higher. Well, if you're wondering why you're struggling to draw, that's probably it. So, as we do a good pendulum stroke, if the elbow stays up, as the hand comes back, notice how it goes up, and then down here at the point of impact, that's where we'd be at 90 degrees with our cue. Many people try to be 90 degrees when they're setting for the cue ball and they're that far away, but at the time of contact, we want 90 degrees, and then we finish the stroke, the hand comes to the chest. Don't extend your stroke by trying to drop your elbow. Instead, whenever this happens, bam, stroke's done. That's the end of the pendulum, okay? If the hand comes to the chest, tip goes down, don't stop that. It's not going to hurt the cloth. You're not coming in at a big angle, right? It's a natural downward angle, even one-handed. If we keep the elbow still, the cue just goes down. That's just naturally what happens. In order to find your correct grip location, one thing that you may want to consider doing is video recording yourself and bringing your tip right up to touch that cue ball. A good pool player stance, and of course everybody's going to be built a little bit different, right? I'm 5'4", 220 pounds. And if you built like me, well, I'm sorry for you. Hopefully you can do better. But whatever you're built like, there's a good chance your stance has to be worked on. My recommendation is jump on, consider doing an Ultimate Dragon program with me. It's only $5 more than what half an hour with me anyways would be. If you were to purchase, some private lesson time. And not only do you get all these videos, but also a half an hour lesson with me each month anyways. But if you don't want to do something like that, consider doing something like this. I place my grip hand where I think it should be, with the tip right behind the cue ball, and I step off to the side with the cue on the line. Now I've placed myself perpendicular to the cue. So this is the step I just kind of did without talking about it. Grip hand is where I think it should be. I don't know yet. I turn to the side, and now I'm going to take a big step forward and just bridge. And now, in this position here, I can see that my grip hand is just a little bit behind where 90 degrees would be. So I can move my grip hand up, and this is right at the point of contact. This is 90 degrees with the cue ball at the time of contact. Okay? If I was to pull straight back, nice and slow, and pause, and go straight forward, nice and slow, and pause, those are the three individual pauses of a good set, pause, and finisher free stroke. It's important that we have a few pauses in here, just like if you were an archer, you would set, you'd pause, and then you'd freeze after you release the arrow. By allowing each of those moments to come to a complete stop, you're set, your eyes are allowed to do what they need to do to focus, okay? pull back and pause, the tricep comes to a relaxed point. So it's not trying to fight against the bicep when that goes forward. And then when we stay down and still, not only does that allow you to ensure that you didn't get in the way of that cue going straight, and you're able to evaluate your cue. Did you go straight, left, right, up, down? What happened so that next time you can either repeat good behaviors or not do bad behaviors. But you're also ensuring that you got all the way through that cue and you didn't poke and decelerate. If you were to try and strike the cue ball and you decide you're going to set, and you're going to pause, and you're going to freeze. You see how I poked and pulled the cue back? Well, there's no way that I was so fast that I could only decelerate after the cue ball left my tip. You see? In order for me to come to a stop in any direction, if I'm going one direction and then go to the other, I have to pause in some place, right? Just like a pitcher. Back, forth. There's this backward pause. Here it's back and forth. Archer, back and forth. So whatever that back and forth moment is, we have one direction, comes to a zero, goes to the other direction. The best pool players are going to put a pause in. So when I'm poking, if I have a pause at the end, I can make sure I got all the way through before I stood up. But if I'm not doing that, and I find that my cue finishes behind where I aimed at, and if I find that I've hit and then retracted, sometimes people recognize it as they're doing it. Sometimes they have to stay down long enough to see that they did it after the fact. But whatever that looks like, that retraction, that's a deceleration. And a deceleration means that you did not continue accelerating through the ball. Keyword through. That's what we're talking about today with stroke mechanics, is following through. So, follow through means you continue on until your hand hits the chest and you're done. That's when the stroke ends. And that means that the tip is now well out in front of where the ball was. Bam, it's way out there. If you were to poke and decelerate, going back to what I was saying, there's a very good chance, excuse me, that you started decelerating before you even hit the ball. You started already slowing down. And that's not going to help you out with your spin, your accuracy, and all that other stuff. So I hope you got something good out of here. One thing I am going to say, do not, please, do not, no matter what the internet experts are going to tell you, stay away from Coke bottles and the other bottle drills. The problem with the bottle drill is, because you're trying to limit yourself to this tiny little hole, the only way you can do that is to drop the elbow to get that cue to go straight through that hole. Anything else, the cue is not going to go straight. With a good pendulum stroke, the hand's going to hit the chest, causing the tip to go down, right? So this is a good pendulum stroke, and that tip is going to go down. If the tip goes down, you're not successfully doing the bottle, and you'll probably cause a stroke error trying to make that work. This is one option you have. This is a stroke trainer that we sell here. They're only $10, but you don't need these. You don't have to buy these anyways. I'm happy to sell it to you if you're interested. One thing that you could do is just take a couple of golf tees, set them up, or a couple of shot glasses, pass your cue back and forth. So what you're really trying to do with any type of training device like that is make sure that left and right isn't going wiggle wobble, but you still want to have up and down flexibility. Then that way you're able to work on your stroke in a straight fashion. Keep in mind, a straight stroke is not a cause, it's an effect. And so it's not just about having a straight stroke. You got to make sure that your feet are in the right place. There's some other things going on there too. So if you ever have any questions about what you need to work on, feel free to reach out. Even if you're not an Ultimate Dragon, if you send me a short video clip, I'll send you back a video analysis. It's the least that I can do for you following me. And we'll talk about some of the suggestions that you might want to consider. But ultimately, as far as getting into line and keeping your elbow up, that has nothing at all to do with whether or not your stance is right. So if you're struggling with any of these things, reach out. Love to help you. As always, thank you for following and subscribing, and I'm here for you. So keep sending in those requests. Train better, do better, and shop better at DragonBilliardsInstruction.com.